My name is Ying. I'm going to talk about crowd center redevelopment corporations started work on the design and constructions. On April 4, 1978, the corporations entered into a standard agreement with GCE International, a professional consulting firm of structural engineers, formerly known as HYATT, but changed its name to GCE on May 5, 1983. The firm principal is HYATT for a 715-room hotel that is slated to be built at 2345 in Kansas City. GC has promised to offer all structural engineering service. However, the construction company, the project general contractor, engaged into a subcontract for the fabrication and erection of the steel for the high building. Therefore, several findings were presented to the demand analysis, including only 53% of the maximum load capacity required by the Kansas City building code could be supported by the walkway on the fourth story. The fourth-story walkway weight was down as a result of fabrication changes made to the original design. The fourth-story hangar load deformations and distortions provide evidence that the collapse started there. There is no proof that the bonework collapse was caused by poor construction or material choice. Thank you.
Next, I will talk about discussion. Discussion that related issues to project management. First of all is process for design verification that is inadequate. The fabrication or installation contractor haven't still made the most safety critical design decisions, whereas GCE, the structural engineering design firm, only generate a partial design. Havens did not do any documented engineering analysis while creating the design and did not conduct any written engineering analysis when submitting the design to GCE for approval either. The NBS investigators were unable to locate any substantial computations of yield, strength, or safety factors for the walkway connectors. The load capacity on each connector was found to be only about 60% of what the Kansas City building code required for that type of connection after NBS investigators weak section of the collapsed walkways, watch footage of the crash and recreate portion of the walkways. Secondly is communication issues. When two important structural engineers who were involved in preliminary design operations departed the organization's GCE management failed to preserve safety critical design information. Midway through the design phase, the senior project designer and project engineer who both possess a high level of design expertise left GCE. The degradation in structural integrity went unnoticed because the change to the alternative design of the walkway support structure was never properly communicated to the new GCE design engineers. Thirdly and lastly is lack of oversight and accountability. The walkway was a suspect that required special attention and care, and it was the obligation of all parties to identify it as such. GCE requested an on-site evaluation of the entire site from Crown Center redevelopment after the auditorium ceiling collapsed during construction in 1979. Due to the highest expense, 3 different requests were turned down. According to GCE Safety Inspector, as recorded in the administrative proceedings following the collapse, he most likely would have found the problems in the walkway had he been directed to verify all the connection in the atrium, rather than only the roof. Due to shared design duties, a large number of contractors and subcontractors, and overlapping design verification processes, there was no clear definition of who was responsible for what. PBNDML didn't exercise proper control over the support contractors. The initial design, which NBS inspectors claimed breached building rules even before the design change, was accepted by the Kansas City Division of Public Works Department. Despite inadequate oversight and examination of the design documentation, the Public Works Department denied being informed or having given its approval for the design change.
Many causes of the skywalk's failure. The first one is failure of the connector between the support rod and the walkway box beam. Regarding the incident, the NBS conducted an investigation and found that the walkway box beam's failure at a support and rod connection was the primary reason for the collapse. The support rod's nut and washer were able to pass through the box beam after it cracked open along the wall. Even before the additional weight from the crowd, the box beams on the fourth level had started to give. The box beam on the fourth story had a broken weld, which caused the beam to yield and bend upward under the weight of the two walkways. The metal was bent sufficiently to allow the nut and washer to escape by passing through the beam. The others relatively came next, with the first connection failing. Second, lack of communication between corporate. A significant incident was caused by the company and engineers' negligence. The fatal skywalk collapse that claimed many lives. A miscommunication between the engineer and the business operator led to this. Due to poor construction component, two pedestrian structures at the HYATT Hotel collapsed. Additionally, the roof collapsed while it was being built, and the skywalk's design was poorly throughout. The findings show that the primary cause of skywalk collapse was a fundamental issue with poor communication between Jack D. Gilliam and Associates and Heaven Steel. Heaven Steel regards the drawings produced by Gilliam Associates as final sketches. The skywalk collapsed because of the design drawing were not revised. The corporation and the engineer additionally increased load to the skywalk construction online without fully verifying it. The third one is lack of accountability. Careless attitude by some parties in planning the development of the skywalk resulted in the collapse of the skywalk. This resulted in a total 140 people killed and 200 people injured. The negligence that occurred was categorized as the worst negligence of the era. This result of investigation found that the project manager was not responsible in managing the design preparation and review of the project drawings. The HYATT project engineer was consciously indifferent to his professional duties in preparing the design of the project. The failure of the engineer to closely monitor the work of the project has resulted in collapse. Basically, the failure of the project occurs due to the design not reaching the minimum safety standard, where the engineer should examine the design to improve the safety features.
In conclusion, the designer's immoral actions were what led to the tragic collapse of the bridge. The ASCE should regulate the conduct and the ethics of the engineers as a body devoted to civil engineering and raising people's quality of living. By utilizing computer programming technology, engineers can be more efficiently managed and design outputs can be checked fast and accurately. To safeguard the public's right to information, ASCE should force engineers to share design and structural information. It would have collapsed even under one-third of the weight it supported that evening. According to an investigation findings, the engineering company was found guilty of willful misconduct, gross negligence, and unprofessional behavior nonetheless. It was cleared of all criminal charges. It also lost its national affiliation and all engineering license in 4 states. The building company, steel contractor, and hotel owner compensated victims and their families $151 million in settlements, judgments, and class action lawsuits because of their excess guilt. The significant loss of life was, of course, the worst outcome of all. Numerous people were unintentionally put in danger as a result of minor design errors. This incident serves as evidence of the terrible result of the neglect in construction projects. If there is one lesson to be drawn from this tragedy, it is that safety is significantly impacted by each stage of a building project. At any point of the project, from prefabrication through erection, carelessness might have disastrous effects. This catastrophe performed Engineering and students all over the world have utilized it as a case study.